Well, let's go across to one of the wisest, most experienced minds on the budget, Naina Lal Kidwai. Thanks very much, Naina. One or two good points and one or two weak points in this budget?
So, Pranoy, I think many of us were looking for a pro-growth budget at a time where the economy is clearly seeing stress and GDP growth below where they should be, in the sort of 6.7, 6.5% mark for this year as I see it. So the pro-growth bits come from the infrastructure spend in transportation, which this government has done quite well in terms of how it has spent in these areas. And to some extent, we see that pro-growth agenda also through affordable housing, where by increasing the inventory of affordable housing by changing the per square meter built-up space, we should see benefits for sectors like cement and steel as more affordable housing comes on track. I think the second area for growth would, of course, be consumption-led demand. And maybe there were expectations were higher that the tax benefits into individual hands were more effective. But it's not like nothing's been done. And I think what has been done has correctly been done at the lower levels. What I have not had a chance to calculate is what benefits are actually going to the farmers and rural sectors, but there seems to be a lot there where if we can see demand coming back from these sectors in terms of consumption, that will again help on the pro-growth messaging. So I think pro-growth, excellent. The second is the sheer pain we've had on the demonetization and the big benefit of digitization flowing from that has had mention and focus in the budget, understanding that we need an internet infrastructure in order to take that forward. And there is therefore a focus on bringing digital India further into rural economies. I would just say a third as being someone who likes everything good to do with the environment, that gets mentioned. It gets mentioned through solar. It gets mentioned to some extent through rail, where raising money through IPOs means money goes back into the rail subsidiaries. So that's a positive, as also some allocations there from the budget. And the fact that the whole Swachh Bharat mission gets mentioned, it's through skilling of masons. I think these are very positive, and they demonstrate that the government doesn't forget the big missions that they've embarked on in terms of environment and those areas which are important to it as well. And lastly, on political funding, at least an attempt to address it. I think these are big positives. Negatives, I think the banking sector, it needs more support, and the bankruptcy bills and all are big positives, but these things take time in execution. The immediate need for capitalization, 10,000 crores looks like it's just too little. Maybe there will be more that flows from RBI, but government needs to very clearly look at allowing these banks to go out and raise money and do it through dilution of their own holdings. So we need to see much more of the shoring up of the capital in our public sector banks, which are so critical to the growth the economy needs as well, because they are 75% of the banking system.
Right, and I guess the other big picture positive is the fiscal deficit is only 3.2% of GDP, despite a 25% increase in rural infrastructure. So that balance has been maintained, and the temptation to let that slip and look for reasons to let it go to 3.5, 4% was resisted, which is an overall positive, especially for rating agencies. Thanks very much indeed, Naina Lal Kidwai. Thanks very much for joining us.